through paper 1, starting off with restless Earth. Answer for the first part is A, followed by B. So if you've not got that right, you can have a look at that. Next question was a little bit difficult. What 2 reasons why some earthquakes are more powerful than other? Could be greater movement or displacement of the plates. It could be that they were shallower rather than deeper, or the materials they're travelling through. The next one wanted you to talk about how hazard resistant design can help to reduce the impact. Really what you needed to do here was talk about the building designs, and that's what people missed out on really. So things like deep foundations, shock absorbers, cross bracing the walls, but you also need to sort of develop that really and say large foundations makes it more stable. Counterweight in the roof means that when it rocks, it kind of balances out the movement, that sort of thing. So development was also important. If we turn over here, really we're looking at a destructive plate boundary. This is actually a really good diagram of a destructive boundary. So that's a key thing to do. But the key thing you need to pitch in here is the fact that you need to talk about how it relates to the earthquakes. And the key is here that as these two plates rub past each other, that's when the earthquakes occur. So although this volcano is quite pretty, it's not related to volcanoes, this question. It's related to earthquakes. But things like convection currents, brilliant, subduction zone, the lighter plate, the heavier plate. Admittedly, that's possibly the wrong way around in the fact that the oceanic is denser. But great idea. But really the key here is got to relate it to earthquakes. And that's the movement of the plates past each other. Moving on to the next section, which is your changing climate. The correct answer that we're looking for here is C. And then in this situation, we were looking for D. So you just need to look back at the source. You shouldn't really be making mistakes on this. Describe one way in which climate might make some people poorer. So maybe less rainfall, so farmers have less crops. Brilliant. Develop that point like it's done here and say that they've got less money that they can make available for that. So you've got to really link it into money. So say your point and then develop it and link it to money. 2 possible changes in terms of the UK climate. Here what you need to do is say a change, so it might be wetter, and then say what that might cause, e.g. that might cause more flooding, it might get hotter, and this might be a change meaning that we can grow more exotic fruit. So really the key with these 2 points is say your point and then develop it, and that's something that's coming out quite a lot. People are getting the basic ideas, but they really need to develop it. If we move over to here, this one is talking about human causes of climate change. So this is the greenhouse effect. So what you need to say here for your points is that human activity is producing greenhouse gases like carbon dioxide and methane. You can say the carbon dioxide comes from burning fossil fuels and the methane from farming cows and rice. That these gases go into the atmosphere and they enhance the greenhouse effect. That means that more solar radiation is trapped. The same amount gets in, but more is trapped. Because there is more is trapped, the sort of blanket effect around the world, the Earth gets warmer. So that's what you need to do, and they're the key points there. So if you're not sure about that, make sure that you can talk and explain about that. You've got to be specific about the greenhouse effect and the greenhouse gases. Moving over to here, really difficult to see the map, I admit, but the answer for this one should have been C. You should know that the rainforests are at the equator. And if we move over to here, the correct answer is A, so these are both right. How can humans, one reason, protect ecosystems? You've got to have your point and then develop it. So we could stop cutting down trees, or we could replant trees so that we don't lose the rainforest. That would be an example. Or we could reduce the amount of pollution so that, or we could recycle and reuse so that. Okay? Describe 2 ways in which human activity has led to destruction. So again, point and development, point and development. So logging and development. And you might want to talk about pollution and develop it. Okay, so really important is the development there, and you need to look at the mark scheme to really engage with that. Okay. Finally, for this section, it's asking you about how climate controls the biome. Well, the key thing here is rainfall and temperature. So the higher the temperature, the more plants will grow, and the more animals that will be able to live off those. You would get higher temperatures at the equator, hence the rainforest, and lower temperature at the poles, hence the Arctic regions. Then talk about rainfall. You might want to say how rainfall is linked to temperature with convectional rainfall, but you don't need to do that. Talk about rainfall and say that more rainfall means it's wetter and we get more growth because plants need growth, and less means it's drier, so they don't. And you can relate this again to the rainforest that wet and the deserts and talk about how the biomes are different in those places. So that's the marks you need for that. Moving on to water world. And we just have a little look here. So first answer to this is D, oceans. It's really important you check through these and you make sure that you know why you've got them wrong, because these are essentially easy marks. And then on the next one, it's C, precipitation. One benefit of a large-scale water project management, well, provides more drinking water, brilliant, electricity generation. But this again, it's a 1 mark. It's a 2-mark question, but only wants one thing. So you've got to give the example. So provides electricity, e.g. the Three Gorges Dam in China. That's easy way to get your marks. Next one, 2 different ways in which intermediate can improve resources. Well, talk about the different intermediate technologies. So pumpkin pots, it allows people to store water that's fallen, meaning they've got safe, clean water. And tube wells, well, really you could link the pumpkin pots actually to quantity, so they've got enough water because they can store it. And tube wells, well, that's really good because it gives them clean water because it comes from a deep well. So 2 reasons there. You might want to put locations in as well in developing countries. Finally, describe how human activity can reduce water supplies. Well, this one we need to talk about taking too much out. Over-abstraction, again, give an example, e.g. in Australia. You might also want to talk, and I've written down here, quality and quantity. So quantity, over-extraction, taking too much out, or damming a river, e.g. the Nile, stopped countries further down the Nile from getting the water. Quality, you might want to talk about pollution, be specific, from factories, eutrophication, all of that can go in there to get your marks. And finally, in terms of what we actually sort of marked, is the coastal section. We didn't do the final section, I'll talk about it in a second. First question is C, second question is B. Make sure you check those. Outline one difference between constructive and destructive. Well, the main difference is that there is a large or a powerful swash with constructive and a weak backwash, and with destructive there's a weak swash and a powerful backwash, so you can talk about that. One characteristic of hard engineering, so you might want to say that they are expensive, that they look unsightly, you can choose those. Again, you want to give an example, e.g. in West Bay. That's the sort of thing that you need to be able to do there. So that's important to do. If we then move over, we've then got our big question. It's really important here to notice that we have marks for spelling, punctuation and grammar, 3 marks available there. So this one, for using a named coastline, explain how hard and soft engineering are used to manage it. Well, Southwest Coast, Jurassic coastline, all good. Talking about West Bay, fine. The key thing you need to do here that people miss out is if you need to talk about your hard engineering, you might say, right, we've got seawalls. What do? They absorb the energy of the waves. So that's the key thing about hard engineering. It takes away the energy, and it means that they are essentially reducing the amount of erosion that can take place. Soft engineering, beach replenishment example, the beach absorbs the energy, or it means that the beach is eroded instead of the land. You might also want to link into subaerial processes if you're talking about vegetation planting, the roots holding things together, or cliff pinning to stop it mass movement. The key thing you've got to link here is to the processes of erosion, transport if you're going to talk about groins, or subaerial process if you're talking about more of the soft engineering. So you've got to be specific about that, and really you need to talk about 2 minimum, probably 3 or 4, at least 1 hard and 1 soft. Then you've got to look at your spellings. Now, this is dead easy. You can easily get these marks. You need to have capital letters. So the problem here, West Bay, no capital letter. Full stops and commas in the right place. It needs to make sense, and you need to use some geographical terminology. Good use of geographical terminology here with soft engineering. So that's the 5 sections that we have taught you already. You then could have done the section on extreme climates, but we haven't marked this. We'll let you look at the mark scheme for that. And we have marked it out of 63, which takes the overall mark. It takes away the marks that you would have got in the final section. We've given you a grade, and hopefully now if you watch this, you'll know what you need to do. Task now, look at the exam mark scheme, write down in green pen exactly what you should have done in order to get more marks. And then we'll see what you could do or what grade you would have got if you'd achieved all that.